Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. I thought it was time to talk a little bit about Star Wars games again, because as you guys probably know, there's a lot of them in the works. Actually 8 unreleased Star Wars games right now, which sounds great, but I still feel like there are some things missing and some decisions that I don't quite understand, but overall it's very positive. And I know you're gonna read this title and be like, he's just gonna talk about Battlefront 3, and no, that's not the case. Yes, Battlefront 3 is still missing from the upcoming games roster, but I think there's another big scope that is missing. But before I get into the Star Wars gaming talk, I just wanted to give a shout out to my sponsor Elgato. If you guys are interested in any content creation products that I use during my live streams for videos, such as microphones, cameras, green screens, lighting, and much more, make sure to follow that link in the description below to get to my brand new partner page where you can also read a little bit more about me. But now let's get into the actual Star Wars gaming talk. So before I get into what I think is missing from the future of the Star Wars games, let's do a quick little recap of what games we have in the pipeline. First of all, we of course have Star Wars Hunters, which is supposed to release this year, but it's a team-based multiplayer game from Zynga and Lucasfilm Games, available only on the Switch, Android and iOS, so unfortunately it's only a mobile game. And it's had a very strange soft launch where it's been out in some areas of the world and on some platforms. I still don't think you can play it on the Switch, and I can't play it here in Europe unless you use like a VPN. I've heard from some people who played it that the game is pretty good, but since it's only on mobile and it hasn't been fully launched, it's hard to judge it fully yet. Next up, we of course have Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order by Respawn, coming out next year to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And we do know it's set 5 years after the first game. Respawn are working on multiple games. They're also working on a FPS game that we don't really know anything about. It was announced earlier this year, but we do know that the game director Peter Hirschman actually worked on the original Star Wars Battlefront games. So whether or not this is a single player or a multiplayer game is really hard to judge. Based on some of his quotes, I am a bit worried that this is just gonna be a single player game, similar to something like Republic Commando, which is still really good, but that it mostly focuses on the story and not being a multiplayer game. Respawn are also working on a strategy game together with the freshly established studio Bit Reactor, and we don't really know much about this game, but I think it's exciting that the strategy game genre has an upcoming Star Wars game. And then of course we have Star Wars Eclipse, announced last year to be in the works from Quantic Dream, with a fully fledged trailer that looks really good. But there's been a lot of leaks and rumblings about troubled development, issues hiring new people because of Quantic Dream's poor work conditions, and things like that. So when this game is actually going to be released is very hard to say. And then we have the Knights of the Old Republic remake, coming from Aspyr and Lucasfilm Games. It's going to be a PlayStation 5 and PC exclusive initially, but then be released on Xbox as well. This one might be the closest game we have to release except for Star Wars Hunters, although there's nothing official about when it's going to be released yet. And then we have Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game, which was actually the first announcement of a non-EA Star Wars game being worked on by Massive Entertainment in Malmö, Sweden in the Snowdrop engine. Another game we don't know a lot about, but Ubisoft are known to do pretty good open world games, so it's definitely exciting to see what they're gonna come up with. Lastly, and the most recently announced game, we have Amy Hennig's Star Wars game with her newly found studio Skydance New Media. It's gonna be a narrative-driven action-adventure game similar to Uncharted, and rumors are that it's basically gonna pick up her cancelled Star Wars project from back when she worked at Visceral Games, and if that's the case, it's gonna be set during the Rebel Alliance era. So that's a quick recap of the 8 games we have in the works, and it does definitely sound good. We have various types of projects, and most importantly from different publishers and developers, something I'm very excited for, because if one game screws up, we have plenty of more to look forward to. So what do I think is missing? Well, it's almost like they went from we're gonna make multiplayer games to now we're doing single player games only. I mean, the vast majority of these games seem to be single player story driven games, which is great for the Star Wars universe and a great way to tell a Star Wars story. Just look at Fallen Order, I absolutely love that game. But with all the new Star Wars content coming out, whether it's series, comics, movies, so if we ever get those, and simply plenty of canon material coming out all the way, there's still no live service game, there's no active Star Wars game where you can log on each month and be excited to see something new. Look at something like Fortnite. Fortnite does a great job of incorporating Star Wars, but that's not a Star Wars game. It's like 1% of the content in Star Wars, but it was still enough to get me to play the game. So imagine a fully fledged Star Wars game that was built like a platform where new canon material can be included. Yes, a continued Battlefront 2 or a Battlefront 3 could have been exactly that. But I think EA screwed that up, and we're probably never gonna get a Battlefront 3. And it doesn't have to be a Battlefront game. I think Star Wars Hunters could have been this if it was released on the major platforms, because it is kind of a live service game that brings in new characters, emotes, events, and all that kind of stuff, and it could definitely bring in stuff from Star Wars canon to that, although as of right now it seems to be more focused on their own characters and stuff and not take in stuff from current content. But just a few examples of the kind of games I think could do really well and actually incorporate this kind of stuff is first, well, of course, Battlefront 3. Secondly, something like Overwatch, but in Star Wars. A bunch of heroes and villains could be both custom and pre-made, because obviously there's a million different skins and emotes and stuff you could have, but a really polished heroes versus villains game like Overwatch would work really well. If not, then I think something like Star Wars Destiny would be amazing. Make a completely new planet where we can customize our own bounty hunters, scoundrels or whatever, and you can have the competitive multiplayer, but you can also just go and kill AI and go do dungeons and maybe hunt old separatist droids or whatever it would be. There's a lot of different games that would be really fun in multiplayer. It doesn't even have to be like live servers, but I brought that up just because I miss having a game that has updates every month and that brings in something new the way Battlefront 2 did. So I can only imagine a game that was properly built to actually cater to that from the ground up, whether it was a Battlefront 3, a Heroes vs Villains Overwatch game, a Star Wars Destiny. There's plenty of more ideas, but that's the main thing I feel is missing from this roster of upcoming Star Wars games. It feels like it's solely focusing on the kind of game you will be excited for, you will pick it up, you will play it for a week, you will be done with it, that's it. And that's amazing, it's a great way to tell a Star Wars story, but is there really too much to ask for maybe one game that's gonna be that ongoing game that we play for years and years, and that isn't just a mobile game? Galaxy of Heroes, Star Wars Hunters, yes, they pump out new content and they bring in a lot of money, or at least Galaxy of Heroes does. But I'm pretty certain a AAA game on the newest consoles and PC could bring in really good money with a fair monetization system. There are plenty of non-Star Wars games that shows this, and I think just having the Star Wars brand on the game would make it even better from a financial standpoint. But those are my thoughts on the upcoming games and what I think is missing from this roster. I would love to hear in the comments below. What do you guys think about the upcoming Star Wars games? Are you happy with them, or do you feel like something is missing? Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.
Yeah.